This is the first in the series of videos where we will be solving example sums for goodwill treatment at the time of admission of a partner. We will be solving example sums in all the 6 methods of treatment of goodwill. We'll begin with an example sum in the first method, that is when goodwill is paid privately by the incoming partner to the sacrificing partners. So let's go to the example. Example sum: A and B are partners in a firm sharing profits in the ratio of 5:3. They admit C as a new partner for 1/5 share in the profits. C brings in rupees 3 lakh as his capital. Goodwill of the firm is valued at rupees 4 lakh. C pays premium for goodwill privately to A and B. Solution. Now we see that C is bringing in rupees 3 lakh as his capital, but as far as a premium for goodwill is concerned, C is paying his share privately to A and B. So we will pass a journal entry only for the capital which is brought in by C. There will be no journal entry for the premium of goodwill which is paid by C privately to A and B. There won't be any journal entry in the books of the firm. So journal, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. For capital brought in, bank account debit to C's capital account, 3 lakh rupees. Being capital brought in by partner C. So this is the only journal entry in this particular sum. Example sums in the second method. Premium for goodwill is brought in and retained in business. Let's go to the first example under this method. Example 1. A and B are partners in the firm sharing profits in the ratio of 3:2. A and B give 1/2 of their respective shares to C. C brings in his share of premium for goodwill in cash. Goodwill of the firm is valued at rupees 40,000. Pass the journal entries for goodwill in the above case. Now we need information about sacrifice of A, the sacrifice of B, and also the new share of C if we need to go ahead with solving the problem. So let's prepare the working notes for that. Working notes. It's given that A and B give 1/2 of their respective shares to C. So sacrifice of partner A is equal to 1 by half of his share, which is 3 divided by 5, which is equal to 3 divided by 10. The sacrifice of partner B is equal to 1 half of B's share, which is 2 divided by 5, which comes up to 2 divided by 10. Hence, the sacrificing ratio between A and B is equal to 3 by 10 is to 2 by 10, or 3 is to 2. Now, the share of the new partner C will be equal to the sacrifice of A plus the sacrifice of partner B. So that is 3 divided by 10 plus 2 divided by 10. In other words, 5 divided by 10. And therefore, C share of goodwill is equal to the goodwill of the firm multiplied by his share, which is 5 by 10. So it comes up to 40,000 rupees into 5 divided by 10, which is equal to rupees 20,000. So let's pass the journal entries. Journal, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. The first journal entry is for premium for goodwill brought in by C. Bank account debit to premium for goodwill account. C brings in his share, which is 20,000 rupees. Being premium for goodwill brought in by partner C. The second journal entry is to distribute the premium for goodwill among the sacrificing partners in their sacrificing ratio. So we have premium for goodwill account debit 20,000 rupees to A capital, we'll assume the fluctuating capital method, to B's capital account. 20,000 rupees in the sacrificing ratio, which is 3:2. Comes up to rupees 12,000 for A and 8,000 for B. Being premium for goodwill distributed among sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. So this is the answer to the first example. Let's go to the second example. Example 2. B and C are partners sharing profits in the ratio of 3:2. D is admitted, paying a premium for goodwill of rupees 2000 for 1/4 share in profits. The shares of B and C remain as before. Past journal entries in the books of the firm. We'll begin with the working notes. It says that the new profit sharing ratio between B and C remain as before, so is equal to the OPSR between them, which is 3:2. Hence, we can infer that the sacrifice ratio between B and C is also equal to the old ratio, which is 3:2. Let's go ahead with solution. Journal. Date. Particulars. LF number. Debit rupees. And credit rupees. The first journal entry for the premium for goodwill, rupees 2000 brought in by partner B. So we have bank account debit to premium for goodwill. ₹2,000 being premium for goodwill brought in by partner D. Second journal entry, we'll distribute the premium for goodwill among sacrificing partners B and C in sacrificing ratio 3:2. Assuming the fluctuating capital account, amount of premium for goodwill, rupees 2000. Rupees 2000 in sacrificing ratio 3:2. 1200 against partner B and 800 against partner C, being premium for goodwill distributed amongst sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. So this is the answer to the second example. Let's go to example 3. Example 3. B and C are partners sharing profits in the ratio of 3:2. D is admitted, paying a premium of rupees 2100 for 1/4 share in profits, which he acquires 1/6 from B and 1/12 from C. Past journal entries in the books of the firm. Working notes. We have the share of premium of D, rupees 2100. Let's go to find out the sacrifice ratio between B and C. It's given that which he acquires 1/6 from B and 1/12 from C. So we have sacrifice of partner B is equal to 1/6. So also sacrifice of partner C is equal to 1 by 12. Hence, the sacrificing ratio between B and C is equal to 1 by 6 is to 1 by 12, or in other words 2 is to 1. So let's solve the problem. Journal, solution. Date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. First entry for the premium for goodwill brought in cash, bank account debit. 2. Premium for goodwill account. Amount brought in by D is rupees 2,100. Narration: being PFG brought in by partner D. The second entry is for distributing the premium for goodwill. Premium for goodwill account debit. 2. B's capital account, fluctuating capital method assumed. 2. C's capital account. The amount of premium for goodwill is rupees 2,100. Amount has to be distributed in the sacrificing ratio of 2 is to 1. So against B we will write 1,400 and against C we will write 700, being premium for goodwill distributed among sacrificing partners in their sacrificing ratio. This is the answer to example 3. Let's go to example 4. Example 4. A and B are partners in a firm sharing profits in the ratio of 2 is to 1. On 1st April 2019, their capitals were rupees 4 lakh and rupees 2 lakh respectively. On that day, they admitted C as a partner for 1/5 share in profits. The new profit sharing ratio of A, B and C will be 3 is to 1 is to 1. C brought in rupees 1 lakh as his capital and rupees 21,000 as his share of premium for goodwill. Past journal entries in the books of the firm. Working notes. We have information that the capital brought in by C is rupees 1 lakh and his share of premium for goodwill is rupees 21,000. Now we need to find out the sacrificing ratio between A and B. We are given that the old profit sharing ratio between A and B is equal to 2 is to 1 and the new profit sharing ratio between A, B and C is equal to 3 is to 1 is to 1. So let's apply the formulae: old share minus the new share positive figure sacrifice, while negative figure is a gain. So for A, old share 2 divided by 3 minus the new share 3 divided by 5. We have a positive 1 divided by 15 and A has sacrificed. For B, old share 1 divided by 3 minus the new share 1 divided by 5. Positive 2 divided by 15. B has also sacrificed. Therefore, sacrifice ratio between A and B is equal to 1 by 15 is to 2 by 15 or 1 is to 2. So we have journal solution, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. Admission of partner was on 1st April 2019. The first journal entry is for the capital and the premium for goodwill brought in by C. So we have bank account debit to C's capital account to premium for goodwill account. Total 1,21,000 cash brought in, 1 lakh as C's capital and rupees 21,000 as premium for goodwill, being capital and premium for goodwill brought in by C. The next journal entry, to distribute the premium for goodwill among the sacrificing partners in the sacrificing ratio, which is 1:2. So we have premium for goodwill account debit rupees 21,000 to A's capital account to B capital account. 21,000 sacrificing ratio 1:2. So we have 7,000 against A and 14,000 against B, being premium for goodwill distributed among sacrificing partners in the sacrificing ratio. So this is the answer to the fourth example. Let's go to the fifth example. Example 5. Ram and Shyam are partners sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 4:1. They admit Mohan into a partnership on 1st April 2019 for 1/3 share in profits. It was agreed that Ram, Shyam and Mohan would share profits equally in future. Mohan brought in rupees 50,000 as goodwill for 1/3 share in profits. Pass necessary journal entries in the books of the firm. Working notes. Mohan's share of goodwill is rupees 50,000. We need to calculate the sacrifice ratio. Let's do that. Old profit sharing ratio between Ram and Shyam is given as 4:1, and new profit sharing ratio between Ram, Shyam and Mohan is equal. So it's 1:1:1. So let's use the formula old share minus the new share. Positive figure is sacrifice and negative figure is gain. For Ram, old share 4/5 minus the new share 1/3. (7/15), positive figure, Ram sacrifices. For Shyam, 1/5 minus 1/3, a (-2/15), Shyam gains. Let's go ahead with the solution. Journal. Date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. The date is 1st April 2019. Bank account debit to premium for Goodwill account, the premium bought in by Mohan is rupees 50,000, being premium for Goodwill brought in by Mohan. Same date. Let's debit premium for Goodwill. ₹50,000. Now, if we see here, there is an existing partner, Shyam, who has gained. So we need to debit Shyam's capital account also, because Shyam has gained. Now his share of goodwill which he has gained should be debited to his capital account. For that we need to get the value of goodwill of the firm. So let's do the calculations here. Firm's goodwill is equal to, now we know that Mohan has brought in rupees 50,000 for 1/3 share in profits. Therefore, the firm's goodwill would be 50,000 into 3 divided by 1, which is equal to rupees 1,50,000. Now Shyam has gained 2 divided by 15, So for his gain, we need to debit Shyam with 1,50,000 rupees into 2 divided by 15, which is equal to rupees 20,000. So we'll debit Shyam's capital account with rupees 20,000 to Ram's capital account, the total 70,000, because he is the only person who is sacrificing. Being Goodwill adjusted during admission of Mohan. So if any other existing partner gains, we should remember to debit his capital account also with the amount of firm's goodwill multiplied by the amount of his gain. Example 6. X and Y are partners in a firm sharing profits in the ratio of 4:3. On 1st April 2019, they admitted Z as a partner. Z brought in rupees 1 lakh for his capital and rupees 21,000 for 1/3 share of goodwill premium. On Z's admission, goodwill existed in the books of the firm at rupees 28,000. Pass the necessary journal entries on Z's admission. So let's solve the problem. Journal. We have date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. We'll begin by writing off the existing goodwill. It says here goodwill existed in the books of the firm at rupees 28,000. So this existing goodwill of 28,000 has to be written off among old partners, that is X and Y, in their old profit sharing ratio, which is 4:3. So the date of admission of the partner is 1st April 2019. So X capital account, we are assuming the fluctuating capital method. Debit, Y capital account debit, to goodwill account. The amount of existing goodwill is 28,000 and 28,000 rupees needs to be written off in OPSR, which is 4:3. So we have 16,000 against X and 12,000 against Y. Narration being existing goodwill written off. Same date, 1st April 2019. We'll write the journal entry for Z bringing in cash, rupees 1 lakh as his capital and rupees 21,000 as premium for goodwill. So we have bank account debit, totally 1,21,000, to Z's capital account for capital brought in rupees 1 lakh, to premium for goodwill account. rupees 21,000 premium bought in by Z, being capital and PFG brought in by partner Z. The third entry, we need to distribute the PFG of rupees 21,000 among sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. So, premium for goodwill account debit, is rupees 21,000 premium for goodwill, to excess capital account, to Y capital account. 21,000 to be distributed in sacrificing ratio. If you look at the sum, there is no information given other than the new share of the incoming partner Z. So in this case, unless otherwise agreed, the old partners will sacrifice their shares in the old profit sharing ratio. So the sacrificing ratio is equal to the old profit sharing ratio, which is 4:3. So against X, it's 12,000, and against Y, it's 9,000 rupees, being PFG distributed amongst the sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. So we have done one sum where goodwill already existed in the books of the firm, 28,000 rupees, and we began by writing off the existing goodwill among the old partners in their old profit sharing ratio. Let's go to the next example. Example 7. A and B are partners in a firm sharing profits in the ratio of 3:2. They admit C into the partnership for 1/5 share. C brings in rupees 30,000 as capital and rupees 10,000 as goodwill. At the time of admission of C, goodwill appeared in the balance sheet of A and B at rupees 3,000. New profit sharing ratio among the partners will be 5:3:2. Pass the necessary journal entries. So let's go ahead with the solution. Journal, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees, and credit rupees. We'll begin by writing off the existing goodwill. It says here that goodwill appeared in the balance sheet of A and B at rupees 3,000. So let's write it off. A capital account debit, B capital account debit, to goodwill account. Existing goodwill, rupees 3,000. Existing goodwill needs to be written off among old partners in old profit sharing ratio. It's 3:2. Against A, 1,800, and against B, 1,200, being existing goodwill written off. Next, let's pass the journal entry for C bringing in 30,000 rupees as capital and 10,000 as premium for goodwill. Bank account debit. Total cash received by the firm rupees 40,000. To C's capital account. 30,000 rupees. To premium for goodwill. Account 10,000 rupees. Narration being capital and premium for goodwill brought in by C. Now the third entry, we need to distribute the premium for goodwill among the sacrificing partners in their sacrificing ratio. So let's do the working notes to calculate the sacrificing ratio. It's given that old profit sharing ratio among A and B is equal to 3:2, and the NPSR between A, B and C is equal to 5:3:2. So for A, let's do old share minus new share. It's 3/5 minus 5/10. It's a positive 1/10 and A has sacrificed. For B, old share 2/5 minus the new share 3/10. Again a positive 1/10. B has also sacrificed. And sacrifice ratio between A and B is equal to 1/10:1/10, which is 1:1. So we'll distribute the 10,000 premium for goodwill equally because the sacrificing ratio between A and B is equal. Premium for goodwill account debit ₹10,000 to A capital account to B capital account. 10,000 in sacrificing ratio 1:1. 5,000 against A and 5,000 against B, being PFG distributed among sacrificing partners in sacrificing ratio. So there was another sum with existing goodwill, but unlike in the previous sum, we had to calculate the sacrificing ratio, which was different from the old profit sharing ratio. So the goodwill which was existing in the books was written off in 3:2, which was the OPSR, while the premium for goodwill was distributed in the sacrificing ratio, which is 1:1. Let's go to the next example. Example 8. Anu and Bhagavan were partners in a firm, sharing profits in the ratio of 3:1. Goodwill appeared in the books at rupees 4,40,000. Raja was admitted to the partnership. New profit sharing ratio among Anu, Bhagavan and Raja was 2:1. Raja brought rupees 1 lakh for his capital and necessary cash for his goodwill premium. Goodwill of the firm was valued at rupees 2,50,000. Record necessary journal entries in the books of the firm for the above mentioned transactions. Let's go ahead with the solution. Journal. Date. Particulars. LF number. Debit rupees. Credit rupees. The first journal entry. It says goodwill appeared in the books at rupees 4,40,000. We'll write off the existing goodwill among Anu and Bhagwan in their OPSR, which is 3:1. Fluctuating capital method assumed. So Anu capital account, debit, Bhagwan capital account, debit to goodwill account. Existing goodwill amount rupees 4,40,000. 4,40,000 to be written off in OPSR 3:1. So we have 3,30,000 against Anu and 1,10,000 against Bhagwan, being existing goodwill written off. Next entry is for Raja bringing in capital and goodwill premium. We need to find out the amount of goodwill premium which is brought in by Raja. So Raja's working note, Raja's share of goodwill is equal to goodwill of the firm, which is the firm's goodwill, multiplied by Raja's share, which in this case is rupees 2,50,000 into 1 divided by 5, which comes up to rupees 50,000. So bank account debit, total cash received by the firm, 1 lakh capital plus 50,000 premium for goodwill. So that's 1,50,000 to Raja capital account, 1 lakh rupees, and 2 premium for goodwill account. ₹50,000, being capital and PFG brought in by Raja. Next, we need to distribute the premium for goodwill 50,000 among sacrificing partners and their sacrificing ratio. So let's find out the sacrificing ratio. For Anu, we'll do old share minus new share. 3/4 minus 2 divided by 5. Seven divided by 20, sacrificed by Anu. For Bhagwan, it's 1/4 minus 2/5. we have a negative 3 divided by 20 and Bhagwan gains. Now to get the amount we need to credit Anu for, because he is sacrificing, we will take the goodwill of the firm, which is 2,50,000 rupees, and multiply it into his sacrifice, which is 7 divided by 20. So we get 87,500 rupees. And to get the amount for which we need to debit Bhagwan's capital account because he has gained, it's goodwill of the firm 2,50,000 multiplied by 3 divided by 20, which is equal to 37,500 rupees. So let's pass the journal entries. Premium for goodwill account debit, amount 50,000 rupees. We'll debit Bhagwan's capital account because Bhagwan gains. And we should debit him with 37,500 to Anu's capital account. So Anu has sacrificed 7 divided by 20, and multiplying it with the goodwill of the firm, we get 87,500. Narration being goodwill adjusted on admission of Raja. So whenever there is an existing partner gaining, then we need to debit his capital account with the goodwill of the firm multiplied by his gain. And to get the amount, we need to credit the sacrificing partner by, again, we will take the value of goodwill of the firm and multiply it into his sacrifice.